brake. Take it up to about 4 grand, hit the button, and see what you let go. Yeah, launch control works. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. Welcome to an episode of Jay Leno's Garage Pandemic Edition. This is the first brand new car we have done in quite a while. This is a 2021 Porsche 911 Targa 4S, all-wheel drive, 443 horsepower, twin turbo. You know, these are fascinating automobiles. There are cars, obviously, that have more horsepower. In the old days, 443 horsepower would have been unbelievable, and it's still incredible. The thing that makes this different is the precision. I'm not a gun guy, but a friend of mine collects shotguns and things, and he has a Holland & Holland shotgun, and when you hold that, just the way it snaps shut, just the way it feels, just heavy enough to have weight, but still, just amazing. And that's the feeling you get from this. This has absolutely the best electric steering rack I've ever seen in a car. And the fun part about it is, a lot of times, well, Porsche's in a weird place. If they make something that doesn't look like a 911, people go after them. If they make something new, it's never quite as popular. I like the 911 because this is, every year is a constant improvement on the year before. Whatever little thing bothered you about last year's model, it's fixed on the next year's model. Precision is really the key element here. I mean, look at these shunt lines. There's no manufacturer that's that consistent. I mean, you could barely get a McDonald's single patty hamburger through there. That's how tight that is. That's pretty amazing. There are cars that impress you with just their horsepower. This impresses you as a whole, complete automobile. If you've never driven an automobile like this, you have no idea what you're missing, because it really is a unique experience. It feels like it's solid billet. It's from one piece. This is the all-wheel drive model. I prefer the rear-wheel drive model myself. It's a little bit lighter. It's maybe 1/10 of a second faster, but I don't think you could really tell the difference. But the other thing I like about Porsche is, even though they are supercars and hypercars, or whatever you want to call them, they're also just cars, and people use them year-round. I mean, I have friends that put snow tires on their Porsche when they use it in the winter. I don't know anyone that puts snow tires on their Enzo or their Lamborghini. They just don't, you know. This is something you can use for whatever purpose you want. You know, I love the fact that Porsche owners brag about how many miles their cars have on them, as opposed to a lot of owners who go, well, I've got an Enzo with 12 miles. Oh, well, that's pretty impressive. You know, I meet people all the time with 60, 70, 80, 100 and something thousand miles on it. I mean, I've got a 911, I had 125,000 on it when I got it, and we rebuilt it and resto-modded a little bit, took it up to 2.5 and 4-plug head and a few other things, but it's still basically what it is. This has the classic water-cooled version of the traditional 911 flat six. You know what's funny to me, and maybe it's just psychological, the one thing I like about my early 911 is when I drive it, I hear the fins in the cylinder head sort of ringing. You know, you hear that kind of ring sort of sound that you get, that metallic sound that comes with a flat boxer engine like this. Actually, you know where boxer comes from? A lot of people ask me about that. People think, oh, they call it a boxer engine because it's flat and it fits in a box. No, that's not what it means at all. The boxer engine comes from the fact that the conrods, they're opposed, and they're like this. So it's like two boxers fighting. That's sort of where the concept of the boxer engine comes from. Just one of those useless facts that we throw in occasionally. That's what's interesting to me. This is about as far from my 1971 911T as you could get, yet when I get in it, it still conjures up images and audio sounds. To me, it sounds like an air-cooled motor. I know it's not. I know it's a water-cooled, very modern engine, but it still has that traditional Porsche sound. It's also the only rear-engine car sold in America, which is kind of interesting to me, because when I was growing up, there were tons of rear-engine cars. This is the only one sold. By rear engine, that means the engine is behind the axle, which traditionally, I guess, if you're designing a car from scratch, is not the best way to go. But, you know, this is a classic case of evolution over revolution, I guess. It's just evolved, and they've made it better, and it's become a unique automobile in itself. It's really the precision is what makes this car. Every little piece is improved over the year before. I mean, the body shape stays relatively the same, although from year to year, a lot of times I know body panels are interchangeable because the changes are so subtle. Let me show you how this Targa top works. It's actually quite clever. This is sort of a holdover from the original Targa top that they've had for years, so it's not brand new. I myself prefer just the coupe. This seems like added weight to me, but it's quite clever. Let's take a look here. Let me unlock this thing. See, when you press the unlock, see the handle comes out. And I will put the top down. Show you how this works. There you go. Doesn't get more German than that. Kind of reminds me of my '66 Lincoln four-door, with, you know, with that top that goes. Yeah, a Porsche wouldn't like that comparison. But okay, so now you have basically a convertible. You got the Targa top here, which is a rollover bar as well. I don't think this is a whole lot heavier than it needs to be. I don't think it's excessive, but if you're someone like me, I'm more concerned about just the flat-out performance of the car. But these are all luxury features. The nice thing I like about this interior is it's extremely comfortable. It's not those buttock-clenching Reccaros that I'm sitting like this. And I just like this. It's a nice, comfortable driving car. And again, precision is the key word. You really have to drive this car. And the steering rack is unbelievable. The rear wheel steering, I don't think the rear wheel moves more than maybe, what, a quarter of an inch or something. But you get on a freeway off-ramp, and you could be going 3 times the speed, which of course would be wrong, and just get right through there. I mean, it handles and drives. It feels like it's made out of billet. That's what I kind of like, you know. A lot of manufacturers, every 2 or 3 years, they come out with a brand new car, and that's okay too. Whereas this is just constant, subtle improvement. And I've never driven a Porsche yet that wasn't actually faster than what it said in the book. A lot of people exaggerate, whereas Porsche underplays it. The only thing I don't care for is this little sort of shifter sticking up out of the center console. I don't know, it annoys me. But that's really my only complaint. And plus the radio, you need a PhD to figure out how to play a song, but that's okay. But, you know, that's more my age than anything else. I think younger people adapt to that better than I do. You just want to keep driving. That's sort of the great part about this. I don't know how you could have this car and not put 25,000 miles on it in the first year, just because it's such an enjoyable place to be. You've got the usual normal, you got sport, you got wet weather, you got sport plus, you got all the, you can tune it to exactly what you want. I love the steering wheel, exactly the right size. You know, so much thought has gone into this car, because what it is, it's just constant improvement. That's what, that's the real key here. It's not, you're not redesigning the entire car every year, you know. Well, that being said, there is a manual option, and this is my favorite thing. The manual option is a no-cost extra, which I think is fantastic. You know, when I was a kid, you always paid extra for the automatic, and the manual was standard. And then it turned around, and then all of a sudden, all the manual's going to cost you more. But with Porsche, you can either get the automatic or the manual. I would choose the manual. I really don't care for that. I like the involvement. You know, again, it comes down to precision. It comes down to that feeling you get. It's like winding the mainspring of a really well-made, expensive watch. I love the fact that you click through each gear. I know the automatic is faster and all that kind of stuff, but when I go for a drive, I like the enjoyment. I like to be involved in the car. And to me, two-wheel drive with a manual box, that's the ultimate involvement because you can feel the car move around a little bit more. This thing is so incredibly stable with the four-wheel drive. The only weird thing is you really can't see the engine in this thing. You know, let me show you how this works. When you want to check your fluids and stuff, you hit this switch here. Okay, there we go. Oh. See, that comes up. And then you get out and you go over here and you can check your, well, you can see it right there. There's oil and water and whatnot, which, see, the Targa, well, really covers it. You can't see. Look, I know there's an engine in there, okay? I know it's back there. I've seen the blueprints. You just can't really get to it. I do like the fact that I can put my hands on a motor. Again, psychological. But that's pretty much, yeah, that seems, as an old school kind of car guy, that seems really odd to me. So that's sort of funny. But that's basically what does this clamshell and then goes back down again. Let's put it down. Let's see what kind of trunk or frunk we have. You know, there was a really funny ad. I don't know if, I think the Porsche files have seen it. Some stupid like clothing designer, and they were selling women's clothes and had this woman packing for a trip, and she had a 911 with that open, and she's starting to put her suitcase back there. And I'm going, who doesn't know that? How do you shoot that? It was like the funniest ad I'd ever seen. Because obviously they had no clue. They just assumed people would think, oh, whatever. But it was kind of funny. All right, let's open the trunk and see what that looks like. All right, it's fairly deep. I think two people could go on a trip in this thing and carry enough luggage. Yeah, that's fine. That's about average size, pretty much par for the course that way. It's not exceptional, but I think you got more than enough room in there. Let's shut this, and we'll take it for a ride. Again, that's what really sold me on this car, was the drive, as you'll find out in just a minute. You know, because you get a little jaded doing this job, you drive a lot of cars, and I like Porsches. I've got a couple of them myself. They're fantastic cars. I just haven't driven a brand new one like this in quite a while. And again, that electric steering rack, it really is pretty amazing. Come on, let's take it for a spin, and we'll show you what we're talking about here. I mean, obviously, you can go on the Porsche website and get all the torque figures. I think it's 390 foot-pounds and brakes and weight. I think this weighs about probably 3,600 pounds. You know, and it's also, as ridiculous as this sounds, a four-seater. I mean, there are back seats, assuming you have really, if you have children that can sit in a teacup, they'll be very comfortable back here. Yeah, but I never think of as Porsche as being a four-seater car, but it is. And it's just a very comfortable place to be. Let's start it up. And of course, you can adjust the noise level. I'll put it on Sport Plus. And let's take it for a spin. You know, there are so many electronic features on this thing. You got this sport response. I don't know if I have this right because I've just got the car here. There's no Porsche person here to explain this to me, but you've got a thing that says sport response. When you put it into Sport Plus and you hit this button, you have 20 seconds of, well, unbridled enthusiasm, I guess you'd call it. I'm not sure whether it spools the turbos for you or what it does, but it gives you additional power. They don't tell you how much power, you just get quite a bit more for launch control, and it pulls really hard. Yeah, it's amazing. You hear it blip the throttle when you downshift. I'd be curious to get your comments on the Targa top, if you like it or not. I would prefer just the standard hard top, maybe with a sunroof. Wasn't that much heavier. It's interesting, but it doesn't seem as pure. I mean, to me, I think of a Porsche sports car as pure and as light as possible and as much performance as possible. Like, I would always leave it in Sport Plus. I don't think I'd ever put it in the normal mode. But that's just me. It just makes all the right noises. You know, when you turn the turn signal, it's the taunt just clicks in. You know, I always remember those Chryslers from the 70s, the K cars and whatnot. When every time you put on the left or right turn signal, it's like you're breaking a chicken leg, like just like this crack all the time. You always felt like, oh, did it bust off inside there? It always used to make me laugh. It's like crack. Whereas this just has a nice, sharp click to it, which is, again, it's all how a car makes you feel. And this makes you feel like you're the greatest driver in the world. Even though I'm not a race car driver. I enjoy driving cars, and I enjoy driving quickly. I don't drive crazy, you know, and I get on the freeway and just go nuts with the thing. But I just like the feeling of confidence that it gives me. I mean, you can easily take an exit ramp at 3 times the speed on the exit ramp with this thing. And this rear wheel steering, I mean, it's like right now. You know, the wonderful thing is Porsche builds these cars for people who appreciate those small differences. Like I've said a million times, I know nothing about wine. You could give me a $10,000 bottle of wine. I don't know, just tastes like wine to me, I guess. But when I drive this, I can really feel the difference between this and other automobiles. As I said, I'm in Sport Plus right now. I'll push that button and get my 20 seconds of fame. Let's see what happens here. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's pretty good. Quite impressive. Yeah. No, I'm not a Porsche expert. There are guys like Patrick Long and all those guys come to the garage that are just Porsche. Oh, well, I mean, they're Porsche geniuses. These guys know everything about it. To me, I just compare it to other cars, and it's right at the top of the list. It really is. I can't imagine having one of these and damaging it and being able to repair it to the level of the factory. You know what I mean? It almost seems like it would be a total all the time. Everything on this car fits so perfectly. The shunt lines, I mean, it's just incredible. I couldn't imagine damaging this and giving it to a collision repair shop to fix and it coming back like brand new. It almost seems like it would be impossible. Also, I'm told this model has a lot less steel in it. It probably has, I think the earlier cars are like 50% steel. This is like a third steel. A lot of aluminum, a lot of magnesium, yeah. Carbon fiber, just all the lightweight fabric, lightweight materials rather. Has all the classic Porsche little clues, you know, the key on the left side. That goes back to Le Mans, so you could start the car and move the gear shift at the same time. Yeah, that 8-speed is pretty amazing. You can never shift as quickly as this does it. That's okay though. And I can't say enough about the steering wheel, just the way, the size, the feel. It's really excellent. Probably one of the best stock steering wheels I've ever felt. Not too many buttons on it, so it's not overdone. Okay, foot on the brake. Take it up to about $4,000, hit the button, and see which let go. Yeah, launch control works. You know, I I rarely use launch control, but in this car it's so easy. So many cars you got to do this and pat your head and do this, and hold down the radio button while adjusting the clock. So many stupid things you got to do. This thing, you just kind of put your foot on the brake and the gas at the same time, take it up to about $4 grand, hit that button and release, well, you saw how hard it pulls. Pretty impressive, pretty impressive. And the great thing is you can do it in this car all day long. You know, a lot of cars, you know, after half a dozen launch controls, uh-oh, what's that noise? Uh-oh, something broke. Is this thing? No. Well, I want to thank Porsche for dropping this off at the garage. I didn't have a whole lot of literature on it. I tried to tell you what I knew and what my seat of the pants impression of the car is. I think you'll be as impressed as I was. And again, we don't have my crew. We can't go to a track. I'm just driving it the way I think the average guy would drive it on the street, especially if they owned it. You know, I don't like when I get a car from manufacturer and people beat the hell out of the thing. You know, because that's not what you do to your own car. I like to drive this the way I drive my own car, and it doesn't get much better than this. So if you're a Porsche fan, I think you like it, and if you're not a Porsche fan, I think you will be. So anyway, we'll see you guys next week. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Mm-hmm.